Hello. Today in less than 5 minutes, K&G International Advisors will give you a summary of last week's most important international financial news, focusing on underappreciated ideas featuring African superpower. This year, Dominion Capital Strategies will be running a series of episodes on what they think are underappreciated narratives, ideas which should be mainstream in modern economic and investment thinking, but which are rarely talked about. Underappreciated ideas can offer interesting long-term investment opportunities and so are important to think about. For this episode, we want to take you 30 years into the future. The year is 2053, and we are in a metropolis of 40 million people, a cultural and economic center for the world's third biggest economy, an economic giant with a population of 800 million, and the center of a regional economy with a population closer to 1.3 billion. We are in Lagos, the largest city in Nigeria, and we're witnessing the outcome of the next great miracle in the modern global economy's story. Capitalism and industrialization can change things so quickly. It's hard to remember what the world looked like in the recent past. It's easy to forget that there are great economies of East Asia, Japan, China, South Korea, were not long ago low-income countries with small economies and widespread poverty. China was an economic minnow in the 1990s. In 1993, China's GDP per capita was lower than that of Uganda. 20 years later, it is an economic superpower and a viable challenger to the United States as the world's largest economy. Most people's careers last 45 to 50 years, followed by the retirement of 15 to 20 years in many cases. This is an investment period for the average investor of 60 to 70 years. If China can rise from economic obscurity to economic superpower in just 20 years, it's actually quite practical to be thinking now, who's next and what can we invest in that story? Nigeria's GDP has increased 6.3 times since 2001, its GDP per capita 4 times, and we are seeing a similar economic miracle play out across much of Western and Eastern Africa too. Nigeria is emblematic of the wider opportunity for economic development in Africa. West Africa and much of East and Southern Africa is, on average, culturally diverse with relatively open societies developing democracies and legal systems much more closely aligned with European and American systems. In the long term, these are powerful ingredients for economic success. America's early democracy, political and economic development were not a smooth ride. It was a bloody and volatile road to becoming the modern economic and cultural giant the United States of America is today. Many would have laughed at the idea in mid-19th century. Similarly, you would have been mocked for suggesting in the late 1990s that China would become a superpower on par with America within 20 years. To suggest that this story is over, that China was the last new economic superpower rising from obscurity, doesn't hold water. We are already seeing India fast become the new kid on the superpower block, and we think it's wise to think 15 to 20 years ahead to who will be next. West Africa is a strong candidate. What does a story like this mean for investors today? It means thinking about investing allocations for the long term that take into account what the world could look like, assuming the poor stay poor has been a terrible bet over the past 200 years. Emerging markets across the world currently threw off as a destination for aid spending or maybe an adventurous holiday by many in the West today are the economic giants of tomorrow and will be sooner than you think. What's more, we as investors can get in the ground floor on many of these opportunities via investments with funds with exposure to these markets or mandates with the flexibility to allocate to emerging long-term trends like this. Extrapolating the present to the future rarely works. Dominion Capital Strategies is excited about the future, and what's more, they're specifically excited about future structural trends, which are not well appreciated, because that usually means they are underappreciated. The sources used in today's video will Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, MarketWatch, and Dominion Capital Strategies. My name is Juliana Lato from K&G International Advisors, and we wish you an excellent start of the week. We would also like to thank you for watching our video, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on all the important financial news. Don't hesitate to contact us if you have any queries or further comments.